Can you even tell PS5 games from real life anymore? 19 games that genuinely blur that line. Some out now, some coming soon, all of them visual statements. And one pick on this list is going to start arguments. You'll know which one when we get there. The most anticipated game in history, and somehow the trailer still exceeded expectations. Rockstar doesn't do small. GTA 6 takes you to Leonida, a fictional Miami and surrounding Florida Keys. The water physics alone have people losing their minds. Waves that actually behave like waves. Reflections tracking in real time across every wet surface. NPCs reacting to weather, time, and each other independently. Get this, every interior looks fully realized, not flat textures pretending to be rooms. Actual spaces with depth you can feel. Lucia and Jason navigate a world that feels alive in ways previous Rockstar games only hinted at. Traffic patterns shift by time of day. Crowds thin when it rains. Wild Rift exists beyond scripted moments. The lighting engine handles neon nightclubs and swamp sunsets with equal precision. This is Rockstar's first PS5 native title, and they're holding nothing back. Coming November 2026 after 2 delays because Rockstar gonna Rockstar. Will this redefine open-world graphics? Almost certainly. Will it actually hit that date? Place your bets. The first time fog rolls over Mount Yōtei at sunrise, you'll forget you're playing a game. Sucker Punch pushed the PS5 harder than anyone expected. Every blade of grass reacts to wind, every puddle reflects sky in real time. Snow crunches and deforms under your feet. This isn't just pretty, it's technically insane. Set 300 years after Jin Sakai, you play as Atsu across lands surrounding Hokkaido. Environments shift from snowy tundras to sprawling grasslands, each with its own lighting that changes how colors behave throughout the day. The crazy part? Weather doesn't just look different, it affects gameplay. Storms limit visibility, rain makes stealth harder, fog becomes a tactical tool. Photo mode will consume hours because every angle looks like concept art. Combat flows with smoothness the original couldn't achieve. Particle effects during sword clashes feel almost excessive in the best way. 30 to 40 hours of visual excellence. If you own a PS5 and want proof of what it actually does, this is where you start. Everyone expected a lazy cash grab. Konami proved them dead wrong. Metal Gear Solid Delta rebuilds the 2004 classic from scratch while keeping everything legendary intact. The jungle of Selenoyarsk has never looked this alive. Vegetation density actually affects stealth now. Mud sticks to Snake's suit realistically. Rain changes how guards patrol and how footsteps sound. Facial capture during cutscenes rivals Hollywood. Snake's expressions convey exhaustion, doubt, determination with terrifying accuracy. Plus, they kept original voice acting untouched. New visuals, same iconic performances. Survival mechanics benefit massively from visual feedback. Wounds look painful. Healing makes you wince. Food looks appetizing or disgusting depending on what you're eating. Real talk though, does nostalgia carry remakes or do visuals matter on their own? Hard to separate sometimes. This quality of restoration at this price barely exists elsewhere. 15 to 20 hours of stealth perfection. But Game 7, that one came from nowhere with the most artistic visuals this generation has seen. I paused this game just to stare at Senua's face. That's not an exaggeration. Ninja Theory captured something unprecedented here. Pores, micro-expressions, the way her eyes dart when voices overwhelm her. This might be the most photorealistic game ever made, and I genuinely mean that. Iceland's landscapes were scanned and recreated at fidelity that blurs the line between game and documentary. Volcanic beaches with black sand shifting underfoot. Geysers erupting with steam catching light perfectly. Caves where darkness feels threatening because light behaves realistically. Combat is intimate, weighty. Each strike connects with bone-crunching feedback. Camera stays tight on Senua, making every encounter feel desperate. What really sells it is the audio-visual sync. Voices in her head aren't just effects, they're directional, they move around you. Pair that with visuals this sharp and it becomes genuinely overwhelming. 7 to 8 hours that feel like an art installation. Sometimes density beats length. Not everything needs 100 hours to leave a mark. When's the last time Assassin's Creed actually impressed you visually?
Shadows finally delivers. Feudal Japan through the Anvil engine looks absolutely ridiculous. Cherry blossoms falling with realistic physics. Paper walls that tear and burn dynamically. Seasons transforming entire regions over time. You switch between Nioh, a shinobi, and Yasuke, the legendary African samurai. Each experiences the world differently. Nioh sections emphasize shadow and stealth. Yasuke leans into brutal daylight combat. Lighting handles both extremes flawlessly. Interiors glow with flickering candlelight. Exteriors shift through weather affecting visibility and NPC behavior. Castle sieges look chaotic with hundreds of soldiers rendered simultaneously. Fire spreads realistically across wooden structures. Destruction isn't scripted, it's systemic. 40 to 60 hours depending on how deep you go. Still here at Game 5? Good, we're barely getting started and the back half has picks that will genuinely surprise you. Some upcoming titles look better than anything currently playable.
Makes most open worlds look empty by comparison. Guerrilla pushed the Decima engine further than anyone expected. The biodiversity alone is staggering. Deserts, jungles, snowy peaks, underwater sections. Each biome has unique vegetation, wildlife, and weather patterns that actually feel distinct. Robot designs reach new levels of complexity here. Machines have thousands of individual parts that deform, break, and expose weaknesses during combat. Aloy's hair physics became a meme, but they genuinely showcase next-gen processing power. Underwater exploration was impossible in the first game. Now, entire quest lines take you beneath the surface into kelp forests and ancient ruins flooded by time. Wait for it. Facial animations during dialogue actually convey personality now. NPCs feel like characters instead of quest dispensers. Sunsets paint everything in oranges and purples that feel almost excessive. Photo mode addiction is real with this one. 40+ hours across the main story and it never stops being visually stunning. And Game 10? That one uses horror atmosphere to create visuals that genuinely disturb. Completely different energy. A debut studio made one of the most visually distinctive games this generation. Sandfall Interactive came out of nowhere. Clair Obscur uses Unreal Engine 5 to create a world that looks like Belle Epoque France, painted by a surrealist having a fever dream. Art Nouveau architecture twisted into impossible shapes. Enemies resembling sculptures more than monsters. A visual identity so strong, every screenshot looks like concept art from a movie that doesn't exist. The paintress marks your age in the sky. When your number comes, you die. The premise is dark, but presentation is dreamlike. Turn-based combat features timing mechanics keeping encounters active. No standing around waiting for turns. Each character has distinct animations showcasing incredible motion capture. Environments shift between gorgeous and unsettling constantly. One moment you're in a beautiful meadow. Next, you're navigating architecture defying physics. If you recognize this game, you're already different from most. 25 to 30 hours of visual artistry proving graphics don't require photorealism to impress. Style over polygons. This is proof.
テンション。
The scale alone will make your jaw drop. Saber Interactive rendered battlefields with hundreds of Tyranids swarming simultaneously. Not pop-in, not spawning in waves, actually present, moving, attacking in coordinated patterns that feel overwhelming. Lieutenant Titus returns to a galaxy at war, and visuals reflect that chaos perfectly. Explosions light up Gothic architecture. Bolter rounds tear through alien flesh with satisfying gore. Armor, scratches, and dents accumulate throughout missions. Blood splatters stay on your character. Environmental destruction persists. Cathedrals crumble realistically when battles spill into sacred spaces. The crazy part? Cooperative missions maintain this visual quality with 2 friends alongside. No downgrade in fidelity. Frame rates stay stable even during the most chaotic swarms. Optimization this good is rare for games this ambitious. 10 to 15 hours for campaign, plus endless co-op replayability. Speaking of visual ambition, Game 13 is still upcoming, but early footage shows Insomniac pushing their engine harder than Spider-Man ever did. Different kind of brutal entirely. Looks beautiful, feels deeply wrong. That's entirely the point. Silent Hill F takes a series to 1960s Japan and trades fog for something more psychological. Cherry blossoms shouldn't feel threatening, but here they absolutely do. Konami partnered with Nioh bards for a fresh perspective on atmospheric horror. The fictional town of Ebisugaoka looks serene until you notice what's underneath. Flowers blooming from wombs, organic growths consuming architecture slowly, traditional Japanese aesthetics corrupted by body horror that never quite shows enough. The restraint makes it effective. RE Engine delivers facial performances conveying trauma without words. Hinako's expressions tell stories dialogue doesn't. Lighting shifts between warm nostalgia and cold dread seamlessly. One scene you're in sunlit rice paddies, next you're in darkness that feels alive. What sells it is how beauty enhances horror. Ugly games can be scary. Beautiful games becoming ugly? That's genuinely disturbing. 12 to 15 hours of atmospheric dread. Still with me at Game 10? That means you actually give a shit about visuals with meaning, not just resolution numbers. Respect. The first game that actually felt next-gen when PS5 launched. Insomniac delivered a tech showcase disguised as a platformer. Dimensional rifts tear open instantly, transporting you to entirely different environments with zero loading. The SSD isn't just faster storage here, it's a gameplay mechanic. Rivet joins Ratchet and Clank across parallel dimensions, each with completely distinct visual identities. One dimension features lush jungles, another is cyberpunk neon, another is barren apocalypse. Transitions happen mid-combat without any interruption. Ray tracing shows reflections on every surface imaginable. Ratchet's fur reacts to wind and water individually. Weapon effects fill screens with particles that would crash last-gen hardware instantly. The DualSense implementation adds texture to everything. Different surfaces feel different. Weapons have distinct feedback. It's the complete package of visual and tactile immersion working together. 12 to 15 hours for completionists. Shorter for main story, but every moment looks incredible. This launched in 2021 and still holds up against games releasing now. That's how far ahead Insomniac was with their visual tech. The sound of bullets snapping past your head has never felt this real. DICE returned to modern warfare with a visual engine capturing chaos authentically. The kinesthetic combat system makes movement feel physical. Vaulting, sliding, leaning. Your character has weight and momentum translating visually to everything you do. Destruction isn't scripted set pieces anymore. Buildings collapse dynamically based on structural damage. Walls crumble where explosives hit. Cover degrades over firefights realistically. 128-player battles look genuinely overwhelming in the best way. Helicopters crashing into skyscrapers, tanks rolling through suburban streets, infantry scattered across maps dwarfing previous entries. Weather affects everything. Sandstorms reduce visibility to meters, rain makes surfaces slick and reflections chaotic. Night maps use realistic darkness requiring tactical flashlight use. But does visual spectacle make Battlefield good again, or just impressive? Last few entries look great too, 20 plus hours in multiplayer easily. Campaign exists, but let's be honest, you're here for multiplayer chaos, and it delivers visually. early footage made me pause and rewatch 3 times. Insomniac is pushing their engine into territory Spider-Man never touched. Logan looks weathered, exhausted. Facial detail captures decades of trauma in every single frame. This isn't the clean superhero aesthetic of previous Marvel games. It's brutal. Claws extending shows bone and metal interface with uncomfortable clarity. Healing factor means watching wounds close in real time with detail that made me wince. Combat footage shows dismemberment that earns the mature rating instantly. Environments range from seedy bars to sterile laboratories to wilderness stretching endlessly. Lighting handles dark interiors and harsh daylight equally well. Madripoor's neon streets look like a different game entirely from snowy Canadian sequences. Plus, the weight feels different. Logan doesn't move like Spider-Man. He's heavy, powerful. Every strike carries momentum animations convey perfectly. Release window still unconfirmed, but Insomniac's track record suggests it'll deliver. And Game 17, that one takes competitive multiplayer into art direction territory nobody expected. Completely different vibe. What happens when RE Engine meets actual next-gen development? We're about to find out. Resident Evil 9 finally has a name, and early trailers show Capcom holding nothing back. Setting shifts between multiple locations with distinct visual identities. Tropical environments with vegetation density rivaling first-party Sony games. Urban decay making RE6's cities look primitive. Underground facilities with lighting creating genuine dread around every corner. Character models show improvements over Village that seemed impossible. Skin subsurface scattering looks almost too real during close-ups. Enemies feature body horror benefiting from increased fidelity. Mutations twist and morph with detail previous hardware couldn't handle. The crazy part? Rumors suggest scale exceeding Village significantly. Multiple playable characters across different timelines. Each section supposedly optimized for different horror tones entirely. Coming 2026 with specific dates still unannounced. If RE Engine evolution continues at this pace, this could be the best looking horror game ever made. Capcom rarely misses with mainline entries. Everyone destroyed this at launch, then patches made it genuinely incredible. The Callisto Protocol deserves a second look now that performance issues are fixed. Glenn Schofield made Dead Space, then created its spiritual successor with gore exceeding anything in gaming. Death animations so detailed they added a skip option. Heads crushed, limbs torn, mutations mid-combat transforming enemy behavior and appearance simultaneously. Black Iron Prison on Jupiter's moon combines industrial decay with body horror seamlessly. Cramped corridors force claustrophobic encounters. Zero-G sections showcase space vistas contrasting interior grimness perfectly. Wait for it. Facial capture rivals Hollywood productions. Jacob Lee's terror reads clearly throughout every cutscene. Supporting characters emote with nuance survival horror rarely achieves at this level. Half of you will love this now, half will still hate it. Both reactions completely valid, honestly. Atmosphere was always incredible. Gameplay just needed time to match. 10 to 12 hours of divisive survival horror. Still here at Game 15? 4 more to go, and they're all pushing visual boundaries in directions you won't expect. Makes previous Team Ninja games look last-gen by comparison. Nioh 3 takes lessons from Wo Long and applies them to a sequel, expanding scope dramatically. Early footage shows environments with scale the series never attempted before. Battlefields spanning kilometers with draw distances showcasing next-gen streaming technology. Yokai designs reach new levels of grotesque creativity here. Demons with thousands of articulated parts moving independently. Transformations happening fluidly mid-combat without breaking flow. Particle effects during key pulses fill screens with energy without tanking performance. Character customization appears deeper with visual variety actually showing during gameplay. Armor sets with individual claw physics, weapons reflecting environment lighting accurately in real time. The stance system returns with visual feedback making switching styles feel genuinely impactful. Sparks fly differently based on weapon materials. Blocking shows force transfer through animations you can feel. Expected sometime 2026 with Team Ninja's typical quality assurance. If difficulty matches visual ambition, this could satisfy Souls fans between From Software releases. Combat footage alone suggests hundreds of hours of mastery available. Looks like a stylized shooter, might actually redefine the genre's visual identity entirely.
Bungie took their 1994 classic and reimagined it for extraction shooter gameplay with art direction nobody saw coming. Hyper-pigmented colors popping against dark environments, character designs feeling retro-futuristic without being derivative of anything existing. The revealed trailer established visual identity immediately distinct from Destiny or any competitor in the space. Environments range from alien structures to derelict spacecraft, each with lighting emphasizing that unique color palette. Early gameplay shows movement fluidity Destiny refined over years, now applied to PvP/VE extraction mechanics seamlessly. The UI alone demonstrates confidence in visual design. Clean, readable, stylish without clutter. But can style carry a live service shooter long-term, or does substance eventually matter more? Bungie's track record suggests they understand both sides. Release window remains vague, but testing phase is rumored for late 2026. And Game 19? That one comes from a tiny team with visuals that shouldn't be possible at that scale. True underdog energy.
One person started this. One. Yang Bang began Lost Soul Aside as a solo passion project, and footage looked better than most AAA studios produce with hundreds of people. OT0 Games now supports development, but core vision remains completely intact. Stylish action combat with aerial combos rivaling Devil May Cry at its peak. Transformations shifting combat entirely mid-fight without loading or transition. A companion system where your sword gains sentience and actual personality. The Shanghai-based studio brings distinct visual sensibilities to everything. Eastern aesthetics blended with sci-fi elements in ways Western developers rarely even attempt. Environments shift between ancient temples and futuristic facilities with technology growing from stone seamlessly. Combat effects layer particles without ever losing visual clarity. You can track exactly what's happening even during the most chaotic encounters imaginable. The best part? Development footage spans years, showing consistent improvement and scope expansion throughout. This isn't vaporware, it's deliberate polish. Coming 2026, with specific timing unconfirmed. If final product matches footage, character action fans finally get what they've waited years for.
What does Unreal Engine 5 look like when a smaller studio commits completely? Hell Is Us answers that. Rogue Factor created a third-person action-adventure set during Civil War in a fictional country being torn apart. Mysterious creatures emerge alongside the conflict with no explanation given. No map, no quest markers, exploration requires observation and environmental awareness the way games used to demand. Visual design supports this philosophy entirely. Landmarks are distinct and memorable because navigation depends on recognizing them yourself. Combat blends melee and ranged with enemy designs telegraphing attacks through animation rather than UI prompts. Environments show war damage organically throughout. Bullet holes, collapsed structures, overgrown military checkpoints reclaimed by nature. Creature designs avoid generic monster templates completely. Each enemy type has visual logic suggesting origin and weakness simultaneously. Lighting handles daylight exploration and nocturnal horror with equal polish. Coming 2026 with a demo already showcasing the ambition. Semi-open world means dense environments rather than empty sprawl. If gameplay matches visual promise, this becomes 2026's sleeper hit for anyone tired of handholding. 19 games, 0 filler. Some playable right now, some coming to melt your eyeballs soon. If you wanted proof PS5 actually delivers next-gen visuals instead of upscaled last-gen promises, now you know where to look. Which one you grabbing first? More visual showcases coming next week. Peace.